Good evening, everyone. This is Timothy Dennis. This is my audio-visual PowerPoint on my final paper, The Psychological Effects of Poverty on African American Inner City Children. Now, I picked this topic because, for one, I'm from the South Bronx. I grew up in the South Bronx, so I understand poverty. I've seen poverty. I've seen the psychological effects that it can have on those who are from that particular area. Now, my abstract is pretty much explains what poverty does, the effects of it. Poverty is a detrimental and unfortunate dilemma that not only causes emotional stress in adults, but can also be a hindrance to the psychological development of children. Now, when children are in environments that are not conducive to their psychological, emotional, intellectual well-being, they have issues that may not manifest early on. They could manifest later on in life. And my paper is pretty much not an in-depth look, but a look at some of the things that I've seen and some of the things that I've researched. Now, my introduction. Poverty and the struggles associated with it can dramatically affect the psychological development of children, to agree that they may have issues functioning in society, which I spoke of earlier. The lack of sufficient and vital necessities within the home can contribute to developmental, emotional, psychological issues in children growing up in inner city. And as we all know, what is the narrative about inner city children? That they are not behaved, they're uneducated, they're wild animals. They don't have the ability to control themselves. Well, that can be because of the environment, but that also can be because of fundamentally their parents were missing the necessities that they needed to raise their kids to do what society says is proper behaving. Now, education is a very important key in getting oneself out of a poverty-stricken environment. Now, Mary McLeod Bethune, who's a very influential educator in the black community, she said, "We have a powerful potential in our youth, and we must have the courage to change old ideas and practices so that we may direct their power toward good ends." If you can reach a child, teach a child, show them the way, they may, in due time, as they mature, figure out what is the best path for them that can be a pathway to empower their community as well as themselves and change the narrative about inner city youth. Now, the adverse effects of single parent households. I grew up in a single parent household, so I understand not only the pitfalls, but the stress, the issues that children face when they're living in that environment. Now, when one parent, more often the father, which was in my case, lives away from his children, investments of parental money and time typically diminish, which is very true. Children grow up without a father or a mother, often feel neglected, inferior, unloved, and will often look to other sources for compensation. That's the street life. You got dudes on the street corner that see a kid, that take a liking to him, that becomes the family. Is that the correct family? No, because the alternatives that they're going to deal with is going to be dealt with deviancy and disparity. They can either go to prison, lose their life, or get strung out on drugs, or just don't grow up. That's one of the factors that they may deal with. Now, the socio-economical pitfalls of materialism. Everybody knows what they show on TV. The rappers got the flashy jewelry, the big cars. Well, that is played on TV. And what do the kids in these neighborhoods see? They see that material things make you feel a certain way. Now, that self-conscious thought process is really a lie, because you have something that can be taken away from you. Material things do not make you who you are, and they psychologically cannot make you a better person or intellectual. Now, drug addiction. Drugs were a very big component in the poverty that was faced by blacks, Latinos, or any individual that lived in the ghetto in the 80s, 90s, really started in the 70s with heroin. But when crack hit, it was a whole new ballgame that destroyed families, and psychologically that affects children because their parents are out there on the street. They're going to school with their city mom or their dad begging for a fix or stealing to get their drugs. Now, intervention and prevention. Now, to effectively prevent the elevation of poverty levels amongst African Americans, the amount of social services available must increase. That is very true. We need to have more programs that teach job readiness, more programs that teach people with kids who may seem to be wayward how to basically communicate with them. If kids can have a nice environment that communication is the key, whatever that they're feeling can be expressed, and therefore whatever services that are available in the community can be used to help that child. Now, intervention to fight poverty and psychological effects that are placed on African American children, they're accessible, yes, but there's not enough. Education and the pursuit of sustainable financial security is a key. Job readiness, education, people understanding that education is the key to getting yourself to a different financial, social, economical demographic. But another thing is, once you get out of the neighborhood that you want to get out of, you have to give back and help those who are less fortunate, because if you don't provide a bridge, you're basically not ending the plight that has been going on for the last 50 to 60 years. Now, in conclusion, children growing up in poverty are undoubtedly faced with issues that are devastating, to say the least. The strain of living in an environment that projects hopelessness and can lead to lasting psychological effects. Interpersonal development and maturation can be greatly impacted by not only the environmental factors present, but the lack of adequate emotional stability. If there is no interpersonal development and maturation between the inhabitants of this community, nothing will change. The environmental factors that are a constant will remain the same. Therefore, the narrative will be those who come from less opportunistic environments, those who come from environments that has been systematically known for crime, high rates of pregnancy, dropout rates will continue. So I believe that further research is needed on a level that can not only bring awareness to those who don't live outside the community, but to also bring what is truly a very, very devastating epidemic to those who live in the community who don't care, that they need to realize if you don't change or help those who want to change, this process will continue. And the continuation will only destroy the fabric of this country. And that's pretty much my presentation. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoy what I wrote.